extend it out to bloggers. Bloggers. Hey, Keely. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Bloggers, product makers, business owners, service providers, coaches, all kinds of people that do things to help people and solve problems. And so I have sort of transitioned a little bit into being also called like the purpose pusher, because it is my goal. It is the reason why I'm here on earth, to help people discover, develop, and deploy their purpose. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I did a discovery call on my way home. And so I also spend a lot of time just helping people figure that part of their life out, because there is at least one thing that we are supposed to do on this planet. And it is my goal. I feel like God put me here to help everyone to find at least that one thing that we are destined, designed, and purposed to do. So I started doing, thank you. I started doing back in July, I believe, a 10 at 10, where I share at least 10 things about various things. So ranges from branding to marketing, to finding your purpose, event planning, natural hair, all kinds of things that I talk about during the week at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if this scope interests you, I would love it if you would click the little man and follow me, so that you can be aware of whenever I scope. I also scope like on my way to work and whenever the mood strikes otherwise, but those are the primary times that I do that. I am gonna say that with Empire starting this week, and with TGIT with Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder starting this week, I definitely won't be scoping on Thursdays during the season. I may scope on Wednesdays at 10, but it's probably going to be like a recap where you can just come and talk to me about the show. So yeah, definitely won't be scoping on Thursdays. So yeah, we can do that at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. So Monday and Tuesday is going to be content. Wednesday, hi, good to see you. Wednesdays is going to be light and breezy, and we're just going to talk about stuff. And maybe because I've been wanting to talk about pop culture too, right? So I talk a lot about it on my personal Facebook page, and I talk a lot about it with my friends. So I kind of want to get into that too, because I just like talking about it as well. So I'm probably going to spend some time doing that on Wednesdays. Here we go. So we are talking about the life of a creative. And let me tell you where this came from. So yesterday, you know, I kept hearing all the scuttlebutt and all of the stuff over Twitter and on Instagram about Drake and Future, the rappers, for those of you that may not know, dropping a mixtape last night at 8 o'clock. I haven't heard it, so don't spoil it for me. I haven't heard it. But there was just all of this stuff about that, and it had been alluded to for a while, and then the date they released it, and Drake and Future talked about it on Saturday. So for me, the way my mind works and the way I start thinking is, okay, what are the lessons that can apply to my branding life, my marketing life, my audience interaction, my business life? And so that's how I think. I don't really look at things musically a lot of times, because I know that there are going to be plenty of blog posts and lots of Twitter chat about what it means musically and lyrically. For me, it's more about the branding, the marketing, and how it can apply to my life. That's when I look at pop culture, when I look at anything like that, I look at how can it apply to my life, and what lessons can I learn from it. So I was like, okay, let me take a look, because what I did, you remember a couple of years ago when Beyonce dropped the surprise album when nobody knew, and we just like woke up to this album being dropped. Well, I was already awake, but some of us woke up to the album being dropped. Well, one of my most popular blog posts to this day are the branding lessons that we can learn from that. You can find that on my website, adearrogers.com. If you want to check that out there, you can absolutely look at that. And so it is much the same concept. And I talk about, various things. When Beck won all of the Grammys last year, I talked about that and what it means from a branding perspective as well. So that's essentially what we're going to talk about tonight. So when I started looking at Drake and Future, I started looking at Drake first, because I thought he's been on the scene a little bit longer. He has, more traction, if you will, in terms of being an artist. And I'm glad that I went with him first, because I have a major creative crush on Drake. And here is why. I have like 10 or 12 things for you that I've noticed. And my research has been reading blog posts, looking at interviews, reading articles about him, and I've come to my own conclusions mostly from what he has said in these interviews, not really from what the interviewer or the journalist wrote about him, but mostly what he has said and my interpretation and what I've gotten from that and how it resonates with me. So the first one is, yes, everybody does. Yeah, his interviews are very, very good. So one of the things that I picked up on throughout a lot of the interviews with Drake is the fact that his music was written from a very, very personal perspective, right? So it is his life. And one of the things that he talks about is that a lot of rap from the past especially was written, was written about stories about other people. But he says no, like his commitment to his art and his craft is the fact that he writes about his own life and he writes from his own experience. What that means for us is the programs, the services, the products that we develop, some of our most effective products and services and programs and events are in answer to our own problems, if you will. They don't have to be problems of a catastrophic, really overly negative nature. They are just things that we have done, followed, tried, and they've worked. And so we offer them to others. And a lot of times that's where you make the most money. That's where you make the most impact and have the most influence. One of my dear friends and someone that I look up to, Bishop T.C. Daniels, said one of the most important things that you can do to relate to people, to relate to your audience, is to say me too. That you too have struggled with something or have overcome something or had a similar question or what have you, and so you have had to find a solution to that, and now you're sharing that solution with your audience. And so Drake does that same thing, and that's why his music, no matter what you feel about it lyrically and musically and his talent, it resonates with people because he's writing about it from his own personal perspective. And a shared experience is a very, very powerful experience. Shared feelings and emotions are very, very powerful, and they make you connect with a person on a level you may not normally connect with them on. So the first lesson for us that we can learn from Drake as a creative is that the best products and programs are the ones that solve your own problems. The second one is huge, y'all. It is huge. This one and the last one I'm going to share, huge, 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 huge. So huge that I'm creating an event around it, okay? This is what I've learned about Drake. This is what almost all creatives do. They immerse themselves in their craft. They immerse themselves in their craft. That's so important. I've said many times that in your craft, in whatever it is that your passion, your purpose is, it takes about 10,000 hours of mastery. 10,000 hours of you doing it, reading about it, living it, immersing yourself in it to really master it, and to, at that point, in my opinion, deserve to be called a guru or a master or a true expert in it. My friend sent me a text. Anyway, so Drake immerses himself in his craft. And where he may be deficient lyrically or musically, or his talent may not be up to par with some other ones, he overcompensates for it because he immerses himself in his craft. Most serious artists do. Most serious creatives do. That's why you have people that when they, like artists, musical artists, when they go into the studio, that's all they do. They eat, live, and breathe that. And when they're really, really serious about that, it is a lot of times that is some of their most popular work, some of their deepest work in terms of how it resonates with the audience. And when you immerse yourself in your craft, the results and the way you feel about it, crazy, I'm telling you. So I am creating an immersion weekend. Immerse yourself in your craft weekend. And essentially what it is going to be an opportunity for you to do just that, for you to literally immerse yourself in your craft from like a Friday night, from the time you get off work, for those of you that work, to Sunday morning. You're going to immerse yourself in your craft. You're going to learn about it. You're going to eat with it. You're going to sleep with it. You're going to live it. At least for that 36 to 48 hour period, you are going to immerse yourself in your craft. And I'm telling you, I think the insight, the love, the reignitement of passion is going to be amazing. And I feel like some of us, we like our purpose, we like our passion, but we don't really love it because we haven't immersed ourselves in it. We haven't like really allowed it to consume us completely because we have lives. We got other stuff going on. We got stuff to do. And I get it. So that's why I think if you can immerse yourself like that periodically, the creativity, the ideas, the products, the services, the ability to connect with your audience, all of that is going to be a lot deeper because of that. The second, the third thing is, so we're talking about Drake as a creative. The first thing is that the best products and programs are ones that solve your own problems. The second is immerse yourself into your craft. Number 3 is push yourself. This is one of the ones that I absolutely loved about Drake, and it has challenged me a lot. So I was reading an article about him, and he says that, you know, when he's writing music and things like that, and he thinks that he's written the hook, he thinks that what he has just written is a perfect hook, and he'll show it to his team, he'll show it to somebody, and they're like, yes, that's the hook, that's the hook. He almost immediately switches it. He moves it to some other place in the song and continues writing. That's mind-blowing for me as a creative, because a lot of us, you know, when we initially write that blog post, when we initially create that product, we're like, yes, that's it. That is the best. This is amazing. And it very well may be. But he continues to hone it. He continues to look at it. He continues to write. And inevitably, he says he feels like he writes something better as a result of doing that. Thank you for sharing. So yes, push yourself. That is so important, that you push yourself, that you don't allow yourself to remain stagnant, that you don't allow yourself to remain in the same place, and that you don't allow yourself to kind of rely on your rest on your laurels, right? So you are you're like, yes, this is the best that I've written, but let me write something else and see if that's a little bit better. And, you know, I do believe in the fact that you should release the best that you have. But then, you know, the second part of what I say is tweak as you go along. And that's what Drake does by pushing himself. The fourth thing that I learned and love about Drake as a creative is to be excited about your own stuff. Drake, if you read his interviews, especially the press right before an album drops or his music drops, he is mad excited. He's just like, I can't wait for people to listen to it. I can't wait for people to consume what I put out. You know, I think that this is, you know, a great indication of where I am musically, lyrically, in my life, what have you. If you're not excited about your product or your service or what it is that you're offering your audience, then why would they be excited about it? It is so important that you recognize and that you realize what I'm releasing is good stuff. That's why I was excited about this, because I know if we think about it in this way and we can apply it to what it is that we do, amazing. It's going to be so, you're going to be feel so super creative by doing that. So make sure that you are excited about your own stuff. Be excited about what you're putting out. Be excited about what you're creating, because that excitement is infectious. The next thing that I learned about Drake as a creative is to be true to yourself. And Drake does that extremely well to me. He does that extremely well. He recognizes that he's not like a lot of rappers out here. He's not like a lot of artists out here, but he remains true to himself. And he even pokes fun at himself. And I think that being able to be like that and to operate in that space and to feel comfortable like that, that again has this authenticity that people can relate to, and that it resonates with them. Because, you know, just like that's why Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl is so uberly popular, because we all have those moments. We can relate to feeling and being socially awkward, and we can relate to a lot of the situations and the scenarios that she presents. So but she's being true to herself. She's sharing herself with the audience. And the same thing with Drake. I mean, he knows the interesting parts of himself, and he makes fun of that. And he knows that he's not for everybody, and he's okay with that. As a product maker, a service provider, a brand, a blogger, you're not going to be for everyone. Everyone is not going to be your audience, but that doesn't mean that you have to change your act. What it actually means is that you should change your audience. And that's part of what I'm doing right now. Like, my audience is changing and shifting, and I'm okay with that. It's a little unnerving at times, because you look at your numbers and you look at people unsubscribing and stuff like that from your email list or unfollowing you, and you're like, man. But you know what? I want to have the room and the opportunity and the time to really nurture and cultivate relationships with people that are with me right now at the point and stage of life that I'm in. And that's what you need to have. I think they're missing out too, but you know, hey, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice trying to spend so much energy courting and trying to please people that really aren't meant to be a part of our audience anymore, or aren't meant to be a part of our audience, period. And rather than spending time nurturing those that hang on our every word and that love all of our products and that attend every event, we're out here trying to get the stragglers. And if you were to nurture the relationships with those that are committed to your brand, for those of you that were at Purpose and Punch that are committed to your brand, you would find that even those committed people, their commitment would grow, but then also they would share, and people would be able to see the difference that your products, your services, your events are making in their lives. And they're going to be like, what's going on with you? And they'll be like, girl, you don't know? You better get over here and get some of that. And then that's how you can really draw and attract people, that are going to be your target audience, and that are going to be more in line. That is very true. More in line with your core message and your core beliefs. Which leads me into my next one, which is connect with an audience that allows you to grow and evolve. So I'm going to use a friend of mine as an example. So I had a product maker that tried something different for a while, and her audience, her customers really didn't like it, and they kind of showed it. And so she ended up, making a decision or undoing that decision. And, she talked about it or what have you. But one of the things that she said is that I have to grow, I have to evolve, I have to change, and doing things the way that I'm doing them right now is not going to allow me to grow and evolve. It's the same thing with us. Whatever it is that we create, we have to be sure that we are attracting and nurturing people that are going to allow us to grow and evolve. I know that you're used to me doing it XYZ way. Thank you. Um, for the past 4 years. But in order for me to be able to not only serve you, but to serve others, I need to, delegate this out, or I need to do this a little bit differently, or I have to stop selling this in order for me to sell that. I have to stop having this event in order for me to start having that event. I have to stop making these type of videos in order for me to make that type of videos or create content on Periscope. So you want to attract an audience that's going to allow you to evolve and grow as well. Like, especially when it gets down to your committed or your core people, they are going to be there for you regardless. So as long as you, and when I mean evolve and grow, I don't mean changing the core of who you are, the core message and the core products or the core ingredients and things like that. I mean, when it comes to sometimes processes and personalized service in terms of you having to touch everything. Sometimes people, because a lot of us start off as solopreneurs, they're able to access us directly. There's going to come a point in time in pretty much all of our lives where some portion of that can and should be delegated to someone else. And, there are going to be some people that are uncomfortable with that. They're going to be like, but I'm used to dealing with you though. And so you even need to start, I'm so excited to see you too. You even need to start doing that now. That is part of my rationale for having different email addresses sometimes, so that if I send you to an email address, yes, you can assume it's me, but it may get to the point that someone else is manning that email address. So if you start out in that way, then people will assume that it's you, but it could be your assistant. It could be someone overseas for all they know, that are responding to some of these emails. So just really make sure that you are being intentional and thoughtful. So think long-term, think past today, think past where you are right now, and think about how your business may function in 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now, and set up some of those processes now, like different email addresses, like having the hello at, info at, even one that is, even if it's you, even if it's your name, then you can have one that's your name that still other people could go in and check. And then you have a super uber personal one that you could give people that's only your email. So most email management systems, most web designs and domains, that you get at least 10 different emails, but a lot of times you get an unlimited number of emails. So you can set up that kind of infrastructure for yourself. While you're a solopreneur, you can forward all of those emails to one email address, or you can load them all into Gmail and check everything in one place, so you don't have to hop from different accounts in order to check it. But as your business grows, because it is going to, as that grows, your brand and your blog grows, and you have to outsource some of those things, then you can remove that one and assign it to somebody else to check. So hopefully that'll help you a little bit. All right. Another thing about Drake as a creative is that he dwells in his differences. I love that about him. So for us, that simply means to be true to yourself, figure out and find out what makes you different and what your unique selling point is. So there are a lot of people out here. I'll talk about me. There are a lot of people that talk about purpose and passion and finding it, and they all share great, amazing stuff. The difference, the thing that I think makes Adeea unique, is that I'm able to drill down to that in a relatively short amount of time. And I'm also able to find the common thread among things that seemingly don't go together, seemingly aren't directly related. And so because of that, I'm able to create this kind of umbrella structure for you where, you know, this part of your business can exist, this passion of yours can exist, this interest of yours can exist as well. And it all kind of seems to go together. And that's what I think makes me different from a lot of people. A lot of people that talk about purpose and passion want you to find one thing. I do believe that you can have multiple passions, but ultimately you only have one purpose. I do believe that you have multiple passions, but you have one purpose. Everything that I do, from events to Periscope to my blog content to anything, any programs that I offer, services that I provide, are all around my singular purpose of teaching and inspiring people. It's all around that. Even when I was in the natural hair community, I was doing tutorials, I was teaching various hairstyles, I was talking about techniques. So it was still all around teaching and inspiring, okay? So you get it? Yay! So dwell on your difference. Don't try to be, this is a time for you to be the soloist. You don't have to be a part of the choir. When you're talking about your brand, your business, your blog, your the services that you provide, yes, you absolutely need to break out from among the choir and become the soloist and sing a different song than the choir is singing. There is nothing that says that we all have to sing the same thing, that we all have to say things the same way. We absolutely can sing in a completely different song, completely different tune than others around us. And that's actually where you attract your true audience. You attract those people that are your ideal. Y'all know Periscope be tripping a lot of times. They be tripping. They be on that stuff. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. If you don't mind sharing, that would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. We have a few more. We're about halfway through the list. You have to stay into the last one because the last one is crazy. It is so crazy. Yay. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. So I am, for those of you that may be just joining, my name is Adeea Rogers, known online as the Trendy Socialite. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Trendy Socialite. I am a former natural hair vlogger, and I talk a lot about purpose and passion and finding that one thing that you are destined and designed to do on this planet. Tonight, what we are talking about, well, not every night, but a couple of times a week now, I do a 10 at 10 where I talk about at least 10 things that can affect your branding, your marketing, business, blogging, life. And so what we are talking about as a result of the Drake Future mixtape dropping yesterday is the life of a creative. And Drake is now my creative crush. I'm not going to talk about his music or lyrically or musically. I'm talking more about his creative process, how he lives as a creative, and what correlations and what lessons we can take, because we all create something. Programs, services, events, content, products, we all create something. And so we can look at people that are creative and create something and find things that we can apply to our own lives. And that's what we're talking about tonight. I'll do a quick recap and then we'll keep right on going. So looking at Drake as a creative, the rapper Drake. Number one, the best products and programs are the ones that solve your own problems. Drake writes about his own life. And so his music resonates because of that. Thank you so much. Number two, and this is huge, y'all. This is huge. This is huge. This is one of the lessons. If you don't remember anything else I say, this is one of the lessons that I really want you to take to heart. And that is to immerse yourself in your craft. Drake immerses himself in his craft, and where he may be weak lyrically or musically or maybe even talent-wise, he more than makes up for it because he literally immerses himself in his craft. And that's what we need to do, because it takes about 10,000 hours of mastery for anything that we are creating and doing and passionate about. The third lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to push yourself. Drake pushes himself. He'll write a lyric, think it's a hook. His team will think it's a hook. And then he's like, all right, then appreciate it. And he'll keep right on writing. And he says that he writes something better as a result. The fourth lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to be excited about your own stuff. Drake is always excited. And one of the things, in a lot of the interviews that I read about him, he was like, I can't wait for people to listen to it. I'm so excited about this. He says that about every album he releases. You have to be excited about every post that you write, every product that you create, every flyer you make, every event you host. You should be excited about it, because if you're not excited about it, how in the world do you expect your audience to be excited about it? The number five lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to be true to yourself. Drake is very, very true to himself. He could have morphed into any number of rappers and rap styles out there, but he has remained true to himself, even as quirky and maybe as awkward and nerdy, whatever you want to call it as that may be at times. He has remained true to himself. The sixth thing is to connect with an audience that allows you to evolve and grow. One of Drake's interviews, he said that he lost some fans because of that. They were like, oh, I miss the old you. And he was like, you know what? I don't even get mad at that, because they are tied to who I used to be. And he was like, and I get it, but I have evolved and I've grown. And that's what you want as a content creator, as an event planner, as a blogger, as a product maker. You want to be able to evolve and grow, and you want your audience to be able to evolve and grow with you. The next one is to dwell in your difference. Dwell in your difference. And what I mean by that is really know and be comfortable with what makes you different. What makes you different than anybody else? What makes you special? What is your unique selling point? That's where you need to dwell and reside. And Drake does that. That's an extension of being comfortable with yourself and being true to yourself. He knows what makes him different lyrically. He knows what makes him different musically, and he stays in that space. Whereas, some rappers, you'd be like, or some artists, you're like, where did that come from? That's not even who you are. And so it's not being authentic, and people can't really connect with that. They know when you're being disingenuous. So you want to make sure that you dwell in the thing that, yes, they all sound the same. They do. Dwell in the thing that makes you different. So think about your unique selling point. The next thing is to develop your instinct. This is something that Drake does really, really well. He has an instinct that I think makes him different, and it makes him dangerous to his competition. So Drake, he instinctively maneuvers within the industry. He knows who he wants to work with and collab with. He knows who he doesn't. And we have to develop that same instinct as it relates to our brand. And we are the only ones that can develop that because it's our stuff. I know instinctively what is the trendy socialite and what is not. I know instinctively what messages and what topics I want to share as Adeea Rogers, the purpose pusher, and what I don't. So, but sometimes it takes time to develop those instincts, and you may make stumble along the way a little bit, but you can learn from it and grow from it and develop your own instinct as it relates to your brand or your business. The next lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to diversify your opportunities. So this is something that I thought was really cool that Drake did a few years ago. He provided the music or the soundtrack for an exhibit at Sotheby's, which is a well-known gallery up in the New York area. And he provided the soundtrack. And you would think, well, what in the world would a rapper be doing with art? But if you know anything about being creative, like all of that, there are so many overlaps in ways that they kind of mesh together. And so he has, because he diversified his opportunities, he didn't just perform at another music festival. He didn't just do a tour or something, you know, perform at an award show or what have you. He did something that really exposed him to an entirely different audience, an entirely different group of people. And sometimes we need to do that with our brands and our blogs. That doesn't mean you get away from the core or the heart of what it is that you do and your core message, but there are things that correlate, that you know, are offshoots of what it is that we do, and that would make sense for us to in order to diversify our opportunities, diversify our audience, and hopefully diversify our money a little bit in terms of streams of income and what have you. Thank you so much for joining. So you want to look at ways to, yes, kind of like finding an extension of that audience. Absolutely. So people that generally like art, we'll use Drake as an example. People who generally like art, they like a multitude of music. So they listen to classical and world music and rap, and they listen to all kinds of things. They're very eclectic people a lot of times, even those that are kind of hoity-toity and stuff like that. So you can, you know, they're open. Musically, they're open. They're open to new experiences and new genres. And Drake's music isn't like NWA, right? Like it's not, it's not Biggie, Life After Death. It is a little bit more mellow. It's a little bit more in line with what maybe some other people will want to listen to. So it makes sense, and I get it. And it's the same thing for us. So there may be some communities, there may be some extensions of our brand, of our blog, of our products and services that can resonate with other people. Or you go in places that you typically don't go. So it could be, for instance, that you vend in a place that may not have your core audience, but could have an extension of that audience there. I can't tell you the number of recommendations and the number of clients that I've received as referrals. And sometimes it's just a matter of putting yourself out there. So if you sell, say for instance, you sell natural hair products, and you think, oh, well, I can only sell them at natural hair events. No. You can sell them at holiday shows. You can sell them at events for women. You can sell them at all of these different places. And while your core audience may not be there, you'll inevitably find somebody that will be interested in there, because I go to all types of events. And I've never seen natural hair products at mainstream events. I'll put it that way. So you can absolutely diversify your opportunities by just, getting out of your what you think is your core audience all the time. You should absolutely be true to them, but you should at least quarterly look for an opportunity that's outside of your core, that's outside of your mainstream, that's outside of what you typically do and the audience that you typically serve. Okay, so try at least once a quarter to look for something that's a little bit different for you to go to, or to partner with, or to write about. The next lesson to learn from Drake as a creative, this is huge too for me, is to protect your ecosystem. Protect your ecosystem. So I read one of the most fascinating interviews with Drake's vocal coach. And this is gonna go into the last one. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna put a pin right there, and I'm going to do this one because these will be the last two. All right, so another lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to create, then reflect, reflect, then create. Create, then reflect, reflect, then create. This is something that is often done in creative field, and especially in the music industry. This is why a lot of times artists don't come out with albums for a number of years. That's why there is always this lull. And Drake talked about it in one of his interviews, was like, I had to live, I had to experience things, and he would even say that he would write part of a song, but then he had to live the rest of the song. So he had to live before he could finish it. And sometimes I find that some of us are so quick because sometimes the demand is there, and I get it. You have to put out based on where people are, but we are just like, oh, we got to hurry up and do this, got to hurry. Sometimes you need to take just a little bit of time to allow yourself to reflect. And a lot of times we don't do that. And reflection doesn't mean you don't have to take a 3-year hiatus like a lot of musical artists do, but you should take like a few days, a couple of days, at least take an entire day to really sit with something, and reflect on it. Before you create, then create something and then reflect on it. I think that you will find that some of the stuff that you put out that doesn't really stick will because you haven't really fully fleshed it out in your own heart and mind yet. So you want to give yourself the opportunity and the time to do that. Okay? So you want to create, then reflect, reflect, then create. And that should, and sometimes it doesn't have to take as long if that becomes a natural part of your creative process, if that becomes a natural part of who you are. So you create something, you write a poem, you look at it, you walk away from it, you go to bed, you get back up, you look at it again, you maybe write something else, you go off to work, you do something else, you come back, and then you just kind of create from there, and that just becomes a natural part of who you are. Create, then reflect, reflect, then create. Okay. These last two are huge, and I'm glad that you stayed. I would invite people because I'm telling you, this is a little bit revolutionary because it's different than what we hear from a lot of the gurus out here. But it is indicative of what we saw last night on the Emmys with Taraji and Viola and Carrie, and even that commercial with Mary J and Carrie, and that is to protect your ecosystem, right? That's the first lesson. I know, right? I loved it too. I absolutely adored it. So I read an amazing interview with Drake's vocal coach. And one of the things that she said was that she had that artists have very fragile ecosystems. And that really resonated with me because those of us that create things, whether, like I said, whether it's content, events, products, services, any of that, we have very fragile ecosystems. We also have very fragile egos, right? That's why everybody loves that line that Erica Badu says at the beginning of Tyrone. She's like, now keep in mind, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my ish. Okay. That's how we are about the things that we so lovingly um, create and things like that. And so she realized that we have this kind of fragile ecosystem around us for those of us that create, and you have to protect that. And how you can do that is by the team and the people that you have around you. You can teach them and show them and have conversations with them about your ways and needs. One of the best ways that I can explain it is in terms of kind of a pastor or a preacher, and they have the armor bearer or the adjutant or something like that. Part of the reason why that person is there is because, and part of the reason why you can't just walk up and be that person is because they know the ways and the needs of that particular individual. I will say, my mom is a pastor. For those of you that may not know, my mom is a pastor, and I'm one of her armor bearers. I mean, I'm her daughter, so I know her probably better than anybody, but she has armor bearers that have been with her for like 10 or 15 years. We can tell by the look on her face how she is feeling, where she is, what we need to do. We can tell, when she goes like this, we're getting stuff. And when, she clears her throat, we're, getting her tea ready. Like, we know those things that some people may just kind of overlook and not really pay a whole lot of attention to. So in order to protect your ecosystem as a creator, you have to have people around you and teach them your ways and your needs. And this is what Drake's vocal coach did. So first time she went on tour with Drake, she went to the after parties with him, and then she started teaching him and the people around them, bodyguards, the crew, the squad, the hype man, everything, how to sort of manage him. She taught Drake how to manage that time, because she was like, you can't drink all this alcohol and you have to perform and you're on tour. You have to hydrate yourself. You have to do these things. She taught them how to kind of take care of him when they're on the road and she's not with them and stuff like that. So she taught them how to help him protect his ecosystem, because his voice is his paycheck. His voice is his, a huge part of his vocation. Whatever it is that is a huge part of your brand or your business, you have to protect that. And you have to have people around you that help you protect that and protect that for you, even so that you can focus on what you need to focus on, and that is to create. Okay, so the people around you need to help to protect your ecosystem. And the ecosystem, if you know anything about ecosystems, that's everything around something, right? So the people around you need to protect that, so you can do only with what only you can do, and that is to create. And then the next thing is, and this is where I was just like, OMG, and we've heard about it from Nicole Walters, but this is a little bit different take on it. And this is a take that resonates with me a lot. One of the things about Drake is that he has his management team, and the people that really are around him are his friends. And I know a lot of times we're like, no, you're not supposed to hire your friends. You're not supposed to work with your friends. You're not supposed to do those things, do stuff like that with your friends. But when I look at Drake, that model works for him. And when I looked at my own life, so to speak, that model is working for me. So the people that are around me, are my friends. The people that are closest to me in terms of my brand life right now, in terms of my business life, are also my friends. They didn't always start out that way. It may have started as a business relationship, but it has grown and evolved into a friendship, and with a lot of them, a very, very deep friendship. So think about that. as something else. But here's the thing that I thought I read in an interview, that the people that are with him in the studio every night, these are the people that are with Drake every night he's cutting an album, every night he's in the studio. These are the type of people that are with him every night, every night. And they have been with him every night for a very, very long time. So he has the producer. His producer knows exactly what he's capable of. He's a long timer. There is a very deep connection, and his producer knows how he flows. So he can tell when Drake is performing, when Drake is recording. He can tell when something is off. He can tell, oh, you could do that better. That's all you got? Do that again. His producer has been around him long enough to know that. We need to have people that are around us long enough that they can develop that ear with us, that they can look at something as like, oh, this isn't what you want to put out. This isn't your brand. This isn't, indicative of who you are and how you operate and flow. So he has a producer. He also has a person that he said is his creative and is really a strategic part of his management team. He said it was really just his friend that would just come to the studio every night. And it was a person that would advise him on dressing and things like that. But he says he's so super creative that he added him to his management team. So you have that person. And for the Coin Collective, in terms of Nicole Walters, that's the visionary. But he was like, that person is so strategic to my brand and to my business. I added him to my management team. The next person that is in the studio with him every night is his DJ. And how that translates to us is that a DJ sets the tone. They set the atmosphere. They create the soundtrack for your life. And so you need that person around you that can help set the tone, set the mood, set the atmosphere. And create the conditions under which you best create. Then he has his close friend, and it literally is just his close friend that knows every step of the way, that has been there through the struggle, through the rain, through the good parts, through everything. They know you as an individual. And I think that is very important to have that type of person around you, someone that knows you as an individual. And that person for Drake knows what he sees. Like, he literally is Drake's second pair of eyes and ears. He knows how Drake thinks musically and lyrically and what he wants to put out. And he's able to say, because sometimes when you're creating and you're either in a zone or you're just all deep into it, there are some things that sometimes you miss and you don't see. But when you have someone that sees along the same lines as you do, and that hears along the same lines that you do, they can say, this isn't right, or that's what we need to do, because this is exactly what you're looking for. This is exactly what you want to do. The other person, I already talked about that interview that I read about his vocal coach. So we need to have someone that helps us to find and define our voice. We need to have that person that helps us hone our craft, that helps us become better. That's what a vocal coach does. They help you use your instrument in the best way possible. So for those of us that create products and services, you need to have that person that will help you find and define your voice. Even if you know what your voice is, they'll help you further refine it. They'll help you create content and create your message that will resonate with people, and that doesn't, even if you start to talk about different things, it all still comes back to the core. They help you with that. That's why you need that kind of person in your creative co-op. One of my business coaches, Melanie Duncan, talks about the Creative Five. And so this is how I knew I had to talk about this, right? Because I've just been seeing all of this stuff literally for the past 24 hours. So the email that I got from Melanie Duncan today was talking about the Creative Five. Nicole Walters talks about the Coin Collective. And for me, what the distinction that I'm making between what I'm talking about and what she talks about, which I absolutely believe in, and I have my own Coin Collective, is that to me, that is more of the business side of things. This is more the creative side. And so, yes, you can have a visionary, but I think you need to have some people that really nurture your creative side, because we create. And you need to have that sort of thing. And one of the things that I was looking at is the whole artist collective things. And there are so many artist collectives. You think about the Harlem Renaissance, and you think about even like Andy Warhol and that, even though it was like, very dysfunctional. And you look at Murder Inc., and you look at different things. There are all of these artist collectives out here, and they work. If the people are right in it, and if the concept is right, and if the mission and the vision behind it is right, collectives work, co-ops work. And so what I'm saying is, you should create your own creative co-op or collective, where you where you have people around you that spark and motivate and push your creativity. You have the person that, these could be people like graphic artists and web designers and stylists, people that can look at things through their lens, and really, yes, Motown as well, and give you that multitude of counsel perspective. And they're experts in their own field and in their own right. So when I looked at my own kind of thing, I do have some. I'm missing some pieces of that, but I do have such a creative clique. I have such a creative, right? We can't be an island. And when I looked at some of these collectives, these creative co-ops and these artist collectives, there were artists and writers and playwrights and musicians. All literally, they lived, they worked, they ate, they slept together. And that's how, like, all of this, and if you've ever seen movies about that, and you see all these people kind of in this smoky place and that, they're just all doing their own thing. Someone is in a corner writing, someone is in a corner painting, and the energy in that place helps them to create, helps them to be creative. And so that's why, if you've ever been on a conversation with someone, even if they're not in the same genre or field or niche as you, and you hung up the phone and you just felt like, oh, like you had gotten your life, like you were so super energized, and you just immediately started writing, or you just immediately started doing something, you immediately wanted to start to mix products and things like that. That's the energy. That's the energy transference that happens when you have a creative co-op, when you have this artist collective sort of thing. So don't shy away from creative people. They are very quirky. They are very different. But don't shy away from them. Have your coin collective, because they have their own objective and they have their own things that they can do, but also have this creative group that literally you just come together, and it's not going to be a structured time, because let me tell you something about creative people. We don't do structure very well. So it's not going to be this agenda, and you may be around them for 2 or 3 hours, and then you may not see them again for 2 or 3 months, or you may not connect again for 2 or 3 months. But it's about the energy that happens, and that's unspoken, and that's something that you can't. I can't put it as an agenda item, and it's not anything that we can't like necessarily. It's not an agenda item. It just is. It just isn't. Like, it's not something you can say, okay, now we are going to be creative. That's next on the agenda. So create. It is just, yeah, right. I know structure sucks sometimes. We need to have it from a business perspective, but from a creative perspective, we really need places to go and opportunities to have that sort of creative outlet, and to be able to share music, and to be able to share art, and to be able to share books and poetry and things like that. I find, literally, y'all, this is what happened. So last night I was talking to a friend, and they were reading me poetry, and then I started looking at stuff that I created, and I was just so inspired, and I was so inspired to create some other things, and I came up with some other ideas, and I started jotting things down in Evernote, and it had absolutely nothing to do with poetry or short stories, which is what I write sometimes. It had absolutely nothing to do with that, but that energy, that creative energy, sparked other things. And that's the energy and that's the environment that we also need to foster, because that's also, yes, it does, it literally flips the switch in your brain. And that's how you avoid writer's block. Like, that's how you avoid getting to that stumbling place where you feel like you don't have anything to create, you don't have anything to share. When you feel like that, that's when you need to be around creative people. That's when you need to do something creative. So whether that's go to a museum, listen to music that you don't normally listen to, watch something on TV that you don't normally watch, because it may flip a part of the brain that has been kind of dormant, that may kickstart something, and then all of a sudden you'll just start being creative again. So an artist collective is an initiative that is the result of a group of artists working together toward shared aims. An artist collective is an initiative that is the result of a group of artists working together toward shared aims. So those aims could be things like purchasing bulk materials. So, I mean, for me, if you are making products of some sort, there are some things that are commonly found in a lot of different products. Why not build a collective around, buying those in bulk? And then you may even be able to afford a higher grade or a higher quality of product at the same price, or maybe even cheaper than what you're normally used to buying it. So that's what collectives do. That's what artist collectives and creative collectives do. So they may purchase bulk materials together. They also may share equipment or space or materials. Everyone is talking about having their own brick and mortar, and I get it. I absolutely get it. But what if a few of you got together and came up with or looked for a creative space that you all could have together, and you could have your store in one place, you can have an event space in another place, you can have offices there. What if you looked at doing a collective arrangement like that, and people could even come in, and that's what a lot of, and especially in larger cities, they have the co-op opportunity in terms of office space, but to create a creative co-op. I understand, but if there is a space that you could go and create by yourself, or have a small space that you could create, but then you can walk out and be among people. You could walk out and share what it is that you created and get feedback. Sometimes being a creative and being a creator is very isolating and very lonely, even for introverts, because you're literally just with that one thing. And so we also can thrive off community. So yeah, it's fine as a creative to be an introvert, but true creatives also thrive on community. And it doesn't have to be a large community. I'm not saying go in Central Park and do something, but you need to have a community of some sort. Okay. The other thing that artist collectives, they may have shared ideologies. So, there are some coaches that I even connect with, because, our messages are very, very similar. And so that's why Nicole Walters and I connect, because our hearts toward people are very, very similar. Our methods are different. Our mannerisms are different. We're completely different people, but we connect with each other because our hearts toward people are very, very similar. With an artist collective, with a creative co-op or a creative collective, you may meet organically. It may just be somebody that you run around. It may even be someone that you hire. So you hire a graphic designer, but then you all start working together. You start talking more about the project. Then you start talking about other stuff. And then you can why not have a conversation with them? Look, I like being around creative people. Can we just get together sometime and, just talk about what you're working on, what I'm working on? Maybe I can show you some things. Maybe you can show me some things, just to keep that creativity going, just to keep that creative spark going. This is why I feel like creative co-ops and artist collectives and creative collectives work. One is collective intelligence, right? So it is that concept of, oh, awesome, I'm glad. It is that concept of there's wisdom in the multitude of counsel. So you are able to sort of rely on this group intelligence. I know we are very, very smart. We are very, very adept and astute when it comes to being creative. Otherwise you wouldn't be a creative. But the collective intelligence of your creative co-op will just take that creativity, honestly, to a whole nother level. And I know that sounds cliche-ish, but it really does. Another reason why creative co-ops and collectives and artist collectives work is that, and this is huge, y'all, again, if you don't remember anything else, it creates the echelon experience. And let me explain what that is to you. So I just wrote a blog post today for Steve Harvey's SOAR retreat down in Miami next month. And, so of course, I looked up what SOAR meant and all that kind of stuff. And so, of course, when we think of the word soar, we think of birds. So I looked at the bird's flight pattern. And when birds fly together in some sort of V or J formation, it is known as echelons. How cool is that? And as brand owners, as business owners, as creatives, as collectives, we want to raise our echelon, right? I know. I'm telling you, it's crazy. So let me tell you why the reason why birds fly together. Because you're thinking, oh, they can just fly whatever, by themselves. And they can, and they do. But the reason why they fly together is twofold. It increases their aerodynamic efficiency, meaning their ability to fly. It increases that, and it reduces fatigue. Look, y'all, when it comes to your creative co-op and your artist collective, when you're around people that spark your creativity, you can create something in an hour, where if you were sitting completely alone and in silence, that it may have taken you 2 and 3 and 4 hours to create, or you may just have given up on it altogether. A creative collective, an artist collective, a creative co-op, whatever you want to call it, it helps you to create this echelon experience where your brand and what you create, your events and your programs, increase in their efficiency, and it reduces your own fatigue. So for instance, I have a friend that is very, very talented in one area, and she's trying to do some webinars. She knows that I do webinars. That's my thing. I can do it with my eyes closed. So I'm helping her do her webinars. She's a part of my collective. She's a part of my squad. And so it's like nothing for me to do it, but it reduces her fatigue. And when I need certain things done, when I need certain questions answered, she's there for me, and it reduces my fatigue. That's how this works. That's how we can, you can, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's how we're able to cover so much more space. That's how we're able to get so much further in our business, in our craft, in our passion, in our purposes, because you have these people that are lending their expertise, that are lending their voice, and where you feel like you don't have the expertise, someone else is coming alongside you. Because my friend she's extremely intelligent. She could figure out how to do webinars, but it would take her all day. And she needs to create. Because I can set up the webinar, but she is the one that has to create the content, because that's her expertise. And so as part of my being a part of her squad, her collective, I need to be able to take that one piece off of her and allow her the space. That's again a part of protecting that ecosystem. So I give her the space, the freedom, and the time to focus on what she can do in terms of what she has to create. And I just come alongside and help reduce her fatigue, help it increase her efficiency by doing this one thing for her that'll take me 5 minutes, and it would probably take her 5 hours. That's what a creative co-op, a artist collective does. The other thing that the other reason why creative co-ops and collectives work is because it's networking, plain and simple, just good old-fashioned networking. If you have if in your squad you have a web designer and you have this and you have that, even if they don't always do the work for you, they're going to be able to say, you know what, that's way too much, or you know what, it doesn't take all that, it shouldn't take this long. Like, they're able to offer you that kind of advice and that kind of expertise, and that's valuable as well to keep you from either working with somebody you don't need to work with, or from wasting money with things that you could probably do and figure out yourself or something like that. Another reason why artists and creative collectives work is because it's a cross-fertilization of ideas and approaches. It's a cross-fertilization of ideas and approaches. Again, it's wisdom in the multitude of counsel. We are smart and we can figure a lot of things out. But if I know somebody in my crew, my squad may have an easier way, and they can do it in 20 steps as opposed to my 25 steps, no brainer, I need to do that. Yeah, okay. So you live in a small island and it's hard to find creatives. So that's where technology can be your friend. So you can do things like Google Hangouts. And you can make those private, and you can have 4 or 5 people, and you make a standing appointment, whether it's monthly, whether it's every other month, whether it is quarterly, where you can just get together with them. You can have periodic check-ins. You can even just have the understanding that when I'm working on something, or when I'm finished with something, I'm going to send it to you to critique or to look at. And then you can, I mean, it's sort of like the creative mastermind concept. So you're just talking about what you're working on. You allow people to also tell you what they see in you, what they see in your work, what they see in what you're creating. And it can give you perspectives, and it can give you new ideas and spark other things. You know, a lot of times I'm a very process-oriented thinker. So when I talk to people, I'm like, oh, you can do this, and then you can do that, then you can do that. They're like, I had never thought about it that way. And so that, you know, I know I bring that to all of my relationships. I know I bring that to all of my, yeah, it is like creative crowdsourcing. It absolutely is. Thank you for coming back. You know, Periscope won't let me be great today. All right, so I really just I'm going to do a quick recap, and then I'm going to leave you with one last quote, which I think will reiterate what I was just talking about with the creative co-op, the artist collective, the creative crowdsourcing. I like that one. That's a good one. creative crowdsourcing. All right, so we're talking about, yes, they're hating on Drake. So we're talking about Drake as a creative and how it can apply to our blogging, branding, and business lives. So I've already gone through all of them. There are 2 other replays out there that you can catch up on and see. Also, I'm recording this live via Google Hangout, so it will be on YouTube tomorrow. Actually, it'll be on YouTube probably in about an hour or so. And then you can watch it in its entirety up there as well. So looking at Drake as a creative, here are the lessons that I've learned. The best products and programs are the ones that solve our own problems. I don't know. I don't know what my YouTube page is. Hey, how are you? Thank you. I think it's youtube.com/Adeea Rogers. youtube.com/Adeea Rogers. I think that's it. I don't know. I just go to it. Sorry. But it will be on my 10 at 10 recap page. So if you go to adearrogers.com/10at10, it'll be up there. So we are looking, it'll be up there tomorrow though. We're looking at the life of Drake as a creative. Number 1 is the best products and programs that we create are to solve our own problems. Drake creates music based on his own life, and we should follow suit when it comes to some of our better selling and signature programs and services and products. Okay. The second lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to immerse yourself in your craft. That is huge. Drake immerses himself in his craft, and where he may be deficient lyrically or musically, he makes up for it because he is he's killing us by immersing himself in his craft. He is just literally outworking everyone. And so that's extremely important, to immerse yourself in your craft. Thank you. So you can, it takes 10,000 hours to master anything. So you have to work at something for 10,000 hours in order for you to consider yourself a master at it. And so the only way you're going to get to that is to immerse yourself in your craft. The third lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to push yourself. Drake writes lyrics, and when he thinks he's found a hook, he moves it to the beginning and then he writes something else. Push yourself. Push yourself. When you think that you've created the very, very best, you can release that. You can go with that, but then continue to create. Continue to push yourself beyond that point. The fourth lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to be excited about your own stuff. Drake is always excited when he's releasing an album. He can't wait for us to hear it. He can't wait for it to be released. You need to be excited about your programs, your events, your services, because if you're not excited, how in the world do you expect for your audience to be excited about it? Number 5 is to be true to yourself. Drake is true to himself, awkwardness and all. He is extremely true to himself. Number 6 is to connect with an audience that will allow you to grow and evolve. Some of us are trying to still fit with an audience that we may have outgrown. Your audience should allow you to grow and evolve, because as your business grows, some things are going to have to change. You may not be the one to pick up the phone, anymore. You may not always be the one to answer the emails, but you have to start training and teaching your audience and your customers and your clients that it's not going to compromise the level of service, but it's something that I have to do in order to grow and in order to evolve. One of the tips that I gave for doing that is, even when it comes to your email, don't just have that one email that you have, like Adeea at whatever your domain name is .com. Have other emails so that, and direct certain types of traffic or certain types of email correspondence to those emails, so that if you ever have to hand it off to someone, then it won't seem like you have handed it off, like it's not you anymore. They can still manage it and maintain it, and it will still appear like it's coming from you, where, because you may have started answering it as a solopreneur in the beginning, but as your business grows and you may hire someone, you may hire an assistant, they can take over some of that for you. Another lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to dwell in your difference. Dwell in your difference. In other words, know what your unique selling point is, know what makes you different in the marketplace, and stay in that space, stay in that lane. Another thing to lesson to learn from Drake as a creative is to develop your instinct. Develop your instinct around your brand. I just hired an assistant. He's amazing. It's best decision I've ever made. Another lesson and that's the best investment I've made in my brand so far. So I would, even if you do it for maybe 5 to 10 hours a week, or 2 to 5 hours a week, I highly suggest that you do that. Another lesson to learn from Drake is to diversify your opportunities. So Drake did some work with Sotheby's, the art gallery. And people are like, what in the world are rappers doing there? But art is art, whether it's musical art, whether it's visual art, whether it's graphic arts, whatever it is, art is art. So I would highly suggest that you look at some opportunities that are natural extensions for your brand or your business or your core message, but that would potentially put you in front of a different audience. One of the tips that I gave in the previous scope was to maybe look at quarterly, either going to a place, either going to a place that is slightly different, but maybe where an extension of your target audience is, at least once a quarter. So if you sell natural hair products, don't just go to natural hair events. At least once a quarter, go to a mommy event, go to a women's expo, go to somewhere where people that don't look like us all the time are, and you'll never know, because I go to all types of events in my area. I don't just go to natural hair events. I go to all types of events, and I can tell you in my area, I rarely see any sort of natural hair products, any natural bath and body kind of things. I rarely see those at mainstream events. Another lesson you can learn from Drake as a creative is to protect your ecosystem. And so that is really all of the things that surround what you create, to protect your ecosystem. And you do that by, I'll go back to that. You do that by teaching people how to help you and what your needs and wants are as a creative. So that's how you do that. And so you want to protect your ecosystem, so it allows you to stay intact as the creative and to create in the most authentic way possible. Another lesson you can learn from Drake as a creative is to create, then reflect, reflect, then create. This is why there are lulls and periods of time when people are in between albums, because they need that time to first they had to have that time to create, but then they also need to reflect on what they've created, and then they need to reflect, and then they need to go in and create something else. That's what we also need to make a natural part of our creative lives, is that create reflection cycle, that reflect create cycle, so that we're not always just putting out product, and it may or may not resonate, it may or may not be effective, but we feel like we have to just put it out because they're like, when are you going to do something else? When are you going to do something else? When are you going to do something else? So make sure that you sort of and it doesn't mean that you take 2 and 3 and 4 years out of your from in between projects or anything, but it should become a natural part of your cycle. And when you have this next thing that I'm going to talk about, it is a lot easier to do, because if you have this creative collective, if you have this creative co-op of people that that will help you with that, your reflection and creation is going to become a natural part of your life. So I'm a huge proponent of, I do believe in absolutely what Nicole Walters talks about with the Coin Collective, but I also believe in a creative version of that, because a lot of people get stuck. They get stuck in what to create. They get stuck in how to create it sometimes. They just get stuck. And this is how people run out of content. This is how people don't have anything to write about. This is how people don't know what to monetize, because they have to have this creative juices flowing. They got to have that going. And then you have your coin collective that helps you sort of maintain your business, keep all of that in order. But you need those people around you that are going to help you in your craft, that are going to help you create, that are going to help motivate you in that regard. And that's where I suggest you have a creative co-op, creative collective, an artist collective, whatever you want to call it, depending on your particular niche and genre. So for instance, Drake has as a part of his creative co-op, he has his producer who's a long timer, who has a deep connection with him and knows what he is capable of as an artist. You should have someone around you that knows what you are capable of creating, and they hold you to that standard, and you give them permission to hold you to that standard. He also has someone around him that is, he calls him the creative. Like, he has a friend that's super duper creative, and that person he has made a part of his management team, because he said he just thinks of things that are so different for him to do that it has enhanced his career exponentially. And so he made this creative person a part of his management team. He also has the DJ. And I said the DJ is the one that kind of sets the atmosphere, sets the tone. That's the person that keeps everyone focused on what it is that you need to what you need to focus on as a creative, and how they can help you do that. He also has what he calls just his close friend. These are people that are with him in the studio every night he's creating. The producer, the creative, the DJ, and his close friend. They're in the studio with him every night he is creating. Every night, these people are in the studio with him. And so he has his close friend who has literally just been with him every step of the way. He says that he and this person view music the same way. They look at things the same way. This person knows how he views music, and he is able to give him feedback along those lines based on knowing how he knows Drake views music, because it's the same way he views music as well. So I believe that an artist collective is necessary. A creative co-op, a creative collective is necessary. A collective is an initiative that results from a group of artists working together towards shared aims. Now, these don't have to be always the same, in the same field, the same genre. I would love to, get together and talk with you and hang out and, talk via Skype. I think that would be cool. So why don't I do this? I will try to create an opportunity where you can test this out and you can see what it looks like. How about I do that? Yep, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna try to do it soon. I'm gonna think about that tomorrow. That's part of my creative process. So I got to think about how that's gonna work, so you can sort of see what that looks like. So a artist collective, they can do things like purchase bulk items together or bulk materials together. They share. Okay, I can do that. They share equipment, space, and materials. That's why you have, when you look at some different people, like especially Andy Warhol, he had this building where all the people just came, and that's where they, and that's where they created everything. So that's what you can do for your artist collective as well. The reasons why I think that artist collectives work is because it's collective intelligence. There is an echelon experience, and that's when I talked about that, I talked about birds. Birds fly together, so birds of a feather flock together. Birds that fly together in a V or a J formation, they call those echelons. And I think that's what I'm going to call my thing, the echelon experience, because, sorry about that, y'all, somebody call me. So when birds fly together, they do so for two reasons. They do so to increase their aerodynamic efficiency and to reduce fatigue. And so when you have the creative collective, they help you increase your efficiency and they help you reduce fatigue, because they may have a process, they may have something that they do that they can tell you to do it, and you don't have to spend all day long researching it. You don't have to spend all day long figuring it out. I have a friend that's a product maker that's wanting to do a webinar. I do webinars like in my sleep. I literally can can do a webinar in 3 hours, create an entire webinar in 3 hours. And so, I'm helping her do that. She has the content, she has the mind, that's the part that she can do, but I can help her create it. I can help her do the mechanics and do some of the other things along that line that will make that process easier for her. And that's what being a part of collective is. And so, she helps me with so many things in return. This is a no-brainer for me. So that's why I think creative collectives work. And also it's a form of networking. And then you get this cross-fertilization of ideas and approaches. So that goes back to me, like there's wisdom in the multitude of counsel. So if you have a process and it takes 20 steps, but the way I do it takes 25, that kind of transference of ideas and approaches really, absolutely, we support each other through our gifts. So I leave you with this quote by Jim Rohn, and it simply says, "Don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high." Don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high. So that is my 10 at 10. I've taken a little hiatus. I'm back briefly because Empire and TGIT started this week, so I am not scoping on Thursday nights anymore during this season. I will be back tomorrow to explore another creative. I haven't narrowed it down yet. I think I know who it's going to be, but it may be a surprise. So you're going to have to follow me on Instagram and Twitter to figure out who I'm going to focus on. Oh, thank you. Who I'm going to focus on as a creative tomorrow. So I hope that you learned something about yourself, how you can look at creative people, because also what I'm trying to do with this is kind of help you see how you can look at different people and their lives and their examples and take certain things and make it your own and make it things that you can do with your own brand and business and life and creative process. So whether you are a scientist, whether you are a teacher, whatever type of passion and profession you have, there is something to be said for the creative process, and because we all create something. And if you can really hone that process, it'll be easier. It'll be easier for you to create. It'll reduce your bouts of writer's block or creativity blocks, and you'll just feel a lot more confident about how to create things. This is how I view things. This is how I do. This is why I'm able to talk about things when I'm on discovery calls with people. People are like, how do you talk about so much on Periscope? How do you have so much to say? It's because of stuff like I do stuff like this. I think like this. I look at people. I look at their lives. I look at their processes, and I think of how it applies to my life. And so I want you to do that. Look at people within your field. Look at people that are making moves within your field and even within different fields as well, and see what you can learn and apply to your own brand, your own blog, your own business, your own life. All right, so I will catch you all tomorrow. I hope you have an amazing evening. I love you so much. Take care and be blessed. Bye.